Hello students, welcome to this series of biostatistics lectures. In last lectures we have covered the use, concept and the interpretation of the normal distribution. So in this lecture we are going to cover the concept and the applications of the sampling variations. So let's start. The learning objectives of today's session are to understand the concept of sample, then to understand the concept of the sampling variation and standard error, second to understand use and interpretation of standard error of mean, and third to understand use and interpretation of standard error of proportion. Remember, these all questions are important and can come to solve into your practical exams, so be prepared. Okay, before we understand the concept of sampling variation with the help of the example that is shown on the screen, first it is important to understand the concept of the sample. Now, to understand the concept of sample, we take one example. Suppose you want to buy 1 or 2 kg grapes and you go to the market. So first thing you will do is you you test 1 or 2 grapes from that vendor. If that 1 or 2 grapes are sweet in taste, you will going to buy the 1 or 2 kg grapes from the vendor. So that is the simple meaning of sample. So in biomedical research or in health research, it is very difficult to study the entire population due to the limitation of economy and time. In order to overcome this difficulty, sample is drawn from the population or large population and studied to draw the inferences regarding the population. So this is how, with the help of the sample, you can minimize your effort and the time required for the research. So in terms of another example, suppose you want to do the hemoglobin levels, or you want to check the hemoglobin levels in the females of the Loni town, and suppose the population of the females in Loni town is 5,000. So you cannot study or you cannot estimate the hemoglobin levels among all the 5,000 women. You can, but it will take more expenses, as well as it will take the more time. So what you will do, you will take 100 or 200 women from out of that 5,000 women who are representative of the all population, and after that you will estimate the hemoglobin level of that 100 or 200 women and generalize whatever result you will get from that sample onto the whole population of the 5,000 women of the Loni town. So this is the simple use as well as meaning of the sample. Now after that we will understand the concept of the sampling variation. So another example on the screen, you can notice that example. You have a box. That box contains 100 balls, and that 100 balls, that ball contains 50 red and the 50 green balls, and you want to do the quality check of the balls. So first of all, you will take the random selection of 10 balls. So you will select the sample of 10 balls. So in first sample of that you take from that box of the 100 balls, first 10 balls, the composition of that first 10 balls is 3 red balls and the 7 green balls. After that you put that ball in back into that box and take the second sample. Again the 10 balls you will draw. That 10 balls composition is 8 red and the 2 green. And third sample, when you replace that balls, and that 10 balls will consist of 5 red and the 5 green. So each time you have take out the 10 balls with different composition of the red and the green box. So this type of variation is called as a sampling variation. So hopefully you have understood the concept of sampling variation. Now on the screen there are 5 concepts or 5 terms that will come across frequently in this session. So let's see the meaning of that 5 terms. First is sampling variation, that we have just seen. The phenomenon of variation in the sample statistics from the population parameter, that term is called as a sampling variation, and that is very natural to occur the variations each time when we take the sample from the same population. Okay. Second concept is the confidence limit. Now many times we heard while reading the research paper, 95% confidence limit, या फिर 90% confidence limit, 99% confidence limit. That limit or confidence limit means the limits within which sample statistics will vary from population parameters. I will make you understand this concept in details with the help of example. Third is standard error. Now standard error is very useful to quantify the sampling variation we have just seen. Second, if your data is quantitative, I have tell you the details of this quantitative data in the first lecture. Quantitative data means if your data is measurable and having some unit, means your height or weight, या फिर hemoglobin levels. So quantitative variables can be of interval scale or can be of ratio scale. Please go in previous lecture to understand the concept of the quantitative variables. So if you want to measure the standard error for the quantitative variables, that term is called as the standard error of mean. ठीक है, SEM. And second is if your data is qualitative variables, means if you measure your data on the nominal scale or ordinal scale, like the gender, male or female, या फिर religion, Hindu, Muslim, Christian. So there are certain qualitative. So in that case the data is nominal scale. And if you want to measure the Glasgow Coma score, any type of a scores, or the Apgar score or Kupuswamy classification, in that scale there are certain qualities but that are arranged in some order. So that type of data is called as ordinal scale data. So if your data is nominal or ordinal scale data, you have to use, or you can measure the sampling variation in terms of standard error of proportion. So let's understand one by one in details. So up till now you have understood the concept of the sampling variation, and the measurement to quantify that sampling variation is standard error. Now there are two types of standard error. First is standard error of mean, and second is standard error of proportion. So these are the two terms you have to remember, and these two terms are used for the different types of data. Let's understand first the standard error of mean. Now as I told you, standard error of mean is useful for the quantitative type of a data. Now I am going to repeat what is a quantitative data. Quantitative data means that has some unit. So example of quantitative data is your height or your weight or hemoglobin count, anything that is measurable and having weight, that is called as a having the unit, that is called as a quantitative data. And if you want the if you want to measure the sampling variations for such type of a quantitative data, the standard error of mean is useful. Now on the screen you can see the two big circle. One is larger circle of blue color, the name of that circle is population, and the smaller circle, the name of that circle is sample in the red color. So as I explained the concept of sample to you, and the again I will give you the example. Again the example is same. If you want to measure the hemoglobin of 5000 women, that is economically uh, economically not possible. Okay, so what you will do, you will take the sample of the 200 women from that 5000 women and generalize your findings of that 200 women onto the 5000 women. So the population of that 5000 women is called as a main study population or main population. So out of that 5000 women, you are going to select the sample of the 200 women. So whatever inference you draw, means after measuring the hemoglobin levels what of the 200 women, what you will get, you will get the mean, that will called as a sample mean, and it is denoted by small mean. And after that you can calculate the standard deviation of that sample, and it is denoted by small s. And after that if you generalize, or you can draw, or you can estimate the population mean from that sample mean, that process will be helped by the standard error of mean. So remember, in research what is your ultimate goal? To measure the sample mean, that is the mean hemoglobin of the 200 women and their standard deviation, and after finding that mean and the standard deviation of that hemoglobin, you can estimate the hemoglobin levels among the 5000 women. So that is the use of your research, and if you take the sample correctly, you can generalize your findings to the whole population. Now mean of the whole population is denoted by capital M, and standard deviation is denoted by capital S or the sigma. So hopefully you have the clear you have get the clear picture of the population mean and standard deviation and sample mean and standard deviation. Remember this while solving the exam, whether you have to write the capital M or the capital S or the small m or small s. Now write down this formula of standard error of mean on into your journals or on plain paper. So standard error of mean is equal to sigma. Sigma stands for standard deviation of population. Remember the word population here. Notice that when standard deviation of population means, in our example, standard deviation of 5000 women divided by under root n. Here n is equal to sample size. So sample size in our example was, out of that 5000 women we have selected a sample of 200 women, so n is equal to 200. So just correlate with the example so that you can remember it in better way. Now this formula is useful when you have the data or you have the previous knowledge of what is the mean or what is the standard deviation of the hemoglobin of the 5000 women or the population, and what is the sample size. Now many times, or when you go into the community for research, you will not know previously what is the standard deviation of the particular observation. Suppose you in hypothetical example you may know, but in real situation, if you go to the loony town and someone asks you what is the average hemoglobin level of females of the loony town, what will be your answers? So definitely you will not know. So what you can do in that case, you can estimate the standard error of mean with the help of replacing that sigma or standard deviation of population with standard deviation of sample. Again, notice the word sample. I will say here, if you don't know the standard deviation of population, which is very quite common situation, we will not know the standard deviation of population in many times in community based research. So in that case you can use your sample mean in term of our example, you can use the average level or the standard deviation of your sample of 200 women divided by under root n again same here of n is equal to 200. Okay, let's understand the concept of standard error of mean with the example of your class, hypothetical example, in more details. Suppose a class of 200 students of second MBBS. The population mean means the average level of height of all 200 students is equal to 155 centimeters, and standard deviation of your whole class of 200 students is equal to 2 centimeters. So here capital M is equal to 155 centimeters and capital S or the sigma is equal to 2 centimeters. Now there are 4 situations or 4 different samples, and we have to calculate the SEM for all these 4 different samples. Now the first sample, the sample size of the first sample is 9, means out of 200 students we have take the sample of 9 randomly selected students. So of that first sample of 9 students, we have to calculate the standard error of mean. So in this data what we will have? We have the population mean and we will have the n. So remember the formula of standard error of mean. The formula for standard error of mean is equal to population standard deviation divided by square root of n. N means sample size. So we will put our values into this. Population SD, in our case population means whole 200 students population and their SD. So that is 2 centimeters. So 2 divided by square root of n. N here it is, n is equal to sample size. So sample size here it is 9. So 2 divided by under root of n means 3. So 2 divided by 3 is equal to 0.66. So it simple interpretation is that the sampling variation in this case is equal to 0.66. Suppose we increase our sample size. So we have selected 16 students instead of 9 students, the standard error of mean is equal to 0.5. If we have selected 25 students instead of 16, our standard error of mean will be 0.4. And if we selected 100 students out of these 200 students, our standard error of mean is equal to 0.2. As I said in the introduction at the start of this session, that standard error quantifies, or it will measure the sampling variation. And what you will be you are noticing on the screen, as you increase the sample size from 9 to 16 to 25 to 100, your sampling variation is decreasing. Means sampling variation is decreasing means your results becoming more accurate and accurate. So how you will increase the validity, or how you will make your result more accurate? By decreasing the sampling variations. So how will you come to know your sampling variations are decreasing? The standard error of mean is decreasing. And how you will decrease your standard error of mean? By increasing the sample size, as you can notice the in the screen or in the example. So as you increase your sample size from 9 to 100 students, the standard error of mean is decreased, or sampling variation is decreased. So higher the sample size, lesser is the sampling variation or the standard error of mean. Till now, hopefully you have understood the concept of standard error of mean. So now let's see the application of this standard error of mean in the research or in your practical questions. So just see on the screen, the example is, if we draw a large number of samples, say k numbers, means you have the large population in millions, and if you draw the large number of samples, means suppose if you take the two samples two times, that means you have drawn the sample for the two times. But if you draw the k number of samples from that infinite population, each time you can calculate the mean, right? Okay, each time you can calculate the mean. Say, so in first sample your mean is m1, in second sample you have drawn from the infinite population, your mean is m2, like way in third sample mean is m3, like in fourth sample your mean is m4, and like in kth sample your mean is equal to mk. Then in such situation, it has been shown that about 68% sample means would be within the range of population mean, that is capital M plus or minus 1 standard error of mean. 95% would be within the range of population mean plus or minus 2 standard error of mean, and 99% sample would be within the range of population mean plus or minus 3 standard error of mean. And these all 68%, 95% and 99% confidence limits respectively. Now this is the concept of confidence limit, and I will explain this concept with practical application of the standard error of mean. So let's take an example. Suppose the town of Loni having the population of 10,000. So that is a population, whole population. Now if you want to estimate, again the same example, if you want to estimate the hemoglobin levels in females, so female population is 5,000. After that, what is your first task? To select the 200 women sample from the population of 5,000 women. If you take it first time, it will give you the mean and the standard deviation, right? If you repeat that procedures, each time you are selecting 200 women, different 200 women. So each time you repeat this procedure 100 times, so you will get 100 samples, right? From that 100 samples you can draw each time 100 means and 100 standard deviation, one mean and one standard deviation for the each sample. Okay, up to this point hopefully you will understand. Now after that, if you want to comment on that, okay, out of these 100 samples, 68 sample or 68% sample means 68% sample means will be within the range of population mean. Population mean means average level of hemoglobins of the all 5000 women, that is called as a population mean plus or minus 1 standard error of mean. And how we will going to draw how we will going to calculate the SEM? SEM is equal to population standard deviation, if not available sample standard deviation divided by under root n. Okay, so this is how you can comment that 68% of the sample mean would be within the m plus or minus 1 SEM. Second thing, if you add m plus or minus 2 SEM, it will give you the 95% of the sample means will be within this range. And if you take mean plus or minus 3 SEM, that means 99% of the sample means will be within this the range of mean plus or minus 3 SEM. Now you will say, sir, what is the interpretation of this, or what is the use of this drawing 68% samples lying within the range of mean plus or minus 1 SEM, or what is the meaning of this 95% or 99% or the confidence limit? So just check out the interpretation in lower part. A sample mean beyond the range of mean plus or minus 2 SEM would be considered as uncommon. So out of that 100 sample we have drawn from the population of 5000 women of Loni town, those sample having their means out of this range, that is mean plus or minus 2 SEM, will be called as uncommon. So the possibility of such sample would be 5% or less. So a sample with mean beyond the range of population mean plus or minus 2 SEM is less likely to be drawn from the population with mean m, that is for the population mean. Okay, let's understand in more details with the help of the example. I will explain. Okay, let's start to understand the interpretation or use of the standard error of mean with the help of the example. But before we go ahead, let's assume that, or let's understand that there are two types of situation when we calculate the standard error of mean. So that two types of situations are when the population mean is known, means suppose as we have seen the example of Loni town and hemoglobin levels. So in that case, suppose we have already know the average hemoglobin levels of all 5000 women in Loni town. In that case we are knowing the population means, but we don't know the population standard deviations, means we don't know the standard deviation of that hemoglobin levels of the 5000 women. So this is the situation. And second situation will be when you don't know the hemoglobin levels as well as standard deviation of the whole 5000 women or the whole population. That is the second situation that will be explained in upcoming slide. But let's focus on the first situation, that is we are knowing the population mean but we are unknown to population standard deviation, and our task is we have to decide a sample with a mean m1. For example, suppose uh, okay, I will explain the example. So if you want to measure the sample with mean m1 with size equal to n and the standard deviation is equal to s, is likely to have been drawn from the population means whatever sample we have selected, we have to decide that that sample is either drawn from the population of Loni town or not. That is the task. Now assumption here it is that the sample is drawn from the population in question, and then proceed to test whether the assumption is correct or wrong. And second assumption is the sample SD or standard deviation is best estimate of the population SD, and so that standard error of mean is to calculate as below. So these are the two assumptions that we have to assume before we go ahead to calculate the standard error of mean. So standard error of mean is equal to population standard deviation divided by under root n, that we have already seen. But if, as I said before, if the population standard deviation is unknown, in this situation we are not knowing the population standard deviation, we just know about the population mean. So as I said before, we can replace population standard deviation with the sample standard deviation. So sample standard deviation, that is small s divided by under root n. And if suppose after calculating this standard error of mean, now if we add that standard error of mean into 2 into the population mean that we are already know, means capital M we are knowing in this hypothetical situation. If M means population mean plus or minus 2 into standard error of mean that we have calculated with the help of the sample standard deviation and the under root n, we can say that if our mean, that is M1, is following these two values. How can we get two values? Mean plus or minus 2 SEM means we will get some range. Mean minus 2 2 SEM will give you the one value. Mean plus 2 SEM will give you the another value. And if our mean of the sample is falling between that two value, we can say that that particular sample is likely to be drawn from the population with mean M. Else, if our sample mean means M1, if it is falling out of that range, it is less likely to be drawn from the population with mean. So this is just a hypothetical example in terms of capital M, small m1, n. Let's understand with the actual figures. Okay, don't get confused now. So as I explained in earlier slide, let's understand with actual numbers. The example in the question is the mean height of the population of 1000 college student is 155 centimeters. So here is the population of 1000 college students and the mean height is given. So this is the first situation as I explained in the previous slide. Mean height, that is capital M, is known, it is equal to 155 centimeters. Now we have drawn the sample of 100 students from this college. So n is equal to, n means sample size, so sample size equal to 100. The mean height of that sample of 100 student is equal to 152 centimeters, means small m or sample mean is equal to 152 centimeters, and standard deviation is equal to 4 centimeters. Now tell me, this is the standard deviation of population or standard deviation of sample? Right, this is the standard deviation of sample and will be denoted by small s. So small s is equal to 4. So whatever data given I have mentioned in the slide. So here capital M is known, capital S or the sigma is unknown, sample mean, that is small m, is known, standard deviation is known, as well as sample size is known. Our task here is, can this sample of 100 students with mean 152 centimeters and standard deviation of 4 centimeters, whether this sample is drawn from the population of 1000 college students? That is our task and we have to comment on that. So let's see how we can comment. I remind you to write this example into your journals, so while writing you will understand it in better way and write it in step by step manner, and also while solving the question into your exams, again solve it by the step by step manner. So let's solve the example. First step, we have to calculate the standard error of mean. How we can calculate standard error of mean? Formula is population standard deviation, that is sigma, divided by under root n. N means sample size. As in this situation we don't know about the population standard deviation, so we can replace it with the sample standard deviation. So sample standard deviation means standard deviation of the 100 student is 4 divided by under root n. N means sample size is 100. So 4 divided by under root 100 means 4 divided by 10 is equal to 0.4. So standard error of mean in this example is 0.4. Now we have to see what is a common observation and what is a uncommon observations. So how we can do that? As we have seen, population mean plus or minus 2 standard error of mean, whatever range we will get, if our mean is falling between that range, that is called as a common observation, and if that is falling outside that range, either on positive side or on the negative side, that is uncommon observation. So let's see what is the range. So here population mean, that is 155 centimeters plus or minus 2 into standard error of mean. Standard error of mean in our example is 0.4. So 155 centimeters plus or minus zero point 0.8 centimeters, we will get the range. That means our range is 154.2 centimeters to 155.8 centimeters. So again we have already seen 68% confidence limit means population mean plus or minus one standard error of mean. 95% confidence limit means population mean plus or minus 2 standard error of mean, and 99% confidence limit means population mean plus or minus 3 standard error of mean. Commonly we will use 95% confidence limit. So in this example 95% confidence limit is equal to 154.2 centimeters to 155.8 centimeters. Now what is the interpretation of this data? So interpretation is, in a population of, that is a whole population of all 1000 college student, mean of that whole population is 155 centimeters as estimated from S. S stand for standard deviation of sample of 152 students is equal to 4 centimeters. Now 95% of the samples would have mean between 154.2 centimeters to 155.8 centimeters. Now in our example, whatever sample we have selected of 100 students, their mean height was 152 centimeters. Means is this height, that is 152 centimeters, is falling between this range of 95% confidence limit? Definitely not. It is falling outside the lower limit, means it is less than the 154.2. And so that this particular sample of 100 students having the mean of 152 centimeters is less likely to be drawn from the population of 1000 students with the population mean of 155 centimeters. So why it is so, or what is the commonest reason? Either, so one can think, so they have collected the fake data, but that is not a reason. The reason given is probably this sample of 100 students differ in some characteristics. That characteristics may influence the height from the entire 1000 students. So what will be the possible reasons? Such a sample differs widely from the population parameters is called bias samples, and this bias or this influence sample may be due to the that 1000, whatever sample we have selected from that 1000 student, that sample having the larger quantity of the girls, and girls usually we think their average height of the girls is less, so that may be the bias sample having the more number of girls in that particular sample. So this is how you can explain your results and common and uncommon samples. Okay, so just now we have seen the first situation. Now the second situation is in front of you. The second situation, when we do not know about the population mean, means capital M, and also we do not know about the population SD, that is the standard deviation, or sigma or capital S. Now here our task is to decide the population mean with a sample mean of M1 size n, means sample size n, and standard deviation s, small s. So here in term of our example of the Loni town, here we do not know the average hemoglobin or mean hemoglobin of the 5000 women, as well as we do not know the standard deviation of that average hemoglobin level, but we know the average hemoglobin level of our sample of 200 women, as well as our sample size is 200, and we also know the standard deviation of the sample of 200 women. So this is a very common situation when you do the research, because whenever you go into the community to conduct research, you do not study the whole population. Usually what you do study, you study only a part of that, that is called as a sample, and you calculate or you measure as a result the average value of the observations. Suppose for example we measure the average hemoglobin level in our 200 women sample, and from that you can calculate the standard deviation of that sample, and from that you can generalize your result, that is average value of hemoglobin and standard deviation of hemoglobin, to your entire population of the 5000 women. So this is the basic use of the standard error of mean. Okay, so here with the help of M1, that is the sample mean, and S means sample standard deviation, we can make a reasonable estimate of the population mean that is unknown to us. So two commonly accepted estimate that is related to the confidence limit, that means 95% confidence limit or 99% confidence limit, means if you take the 95% confidence limit, whatever value you will get about the population mean, that is that estimate about the 95% confidence, and so only 5% of values will fall outside that range, and if you take 99% confidence limit, only 1% of the values or the mean values will fall beyond that range. So let's understand with the help of example. Let's understand the second situation with the help of example on the screen. The example is a randomly drawn sample of 100 students. So we have drawn a sample of size is equal to 100 students from a population of college students, from the whole college student. We do not know the number of the population of the college students. Has a mean height of 154 centimeters and standard deviation of 5 centimeters. So read questions again carefully. Here what they have given, they have given the sample size that is equal to 100. Second thing, they have given the sample mean, that is small m, that is equal to 154 centimeters. Third thing, they have given the standard deviation of the sample of 100 students, that is equal to 5 centimeters. And what they ask to calculate, they ask us to calculate what is the estimate of the mean height of the student of the college. So they expect to judge or to estimate or to predict what will be the height of the average height of the all students, means if that college contains 1000 students, what will be the average height of all 1000 students, you can estimate or you can predict from this the sample of 100 students. That is a simple task. In first example or in first situation, they have given the measurement or the mean height of the 1000 students, and they ask us whether the particular sample of the 100 student you have selected from 1000 student that belongs to that particular population of 1000 student or not. That was the first task. Here the condition or situation or task is different. Here they ask us to estimate the average height of the all college students with the help of this sample. So let's see how to estimate the mean height of all college students. So first we calculate standard error of mean first. The formula for standard error of mean is standard deviation of the population divided by under root n. N stands for sample size, as here we do not know the population standard deviation or the sigma or capital S. So we will replace that with the sample standard deviation. So in our example, the sample standard deviation of 100 student is equal to 5 divided by under root n. N here it is our sample size, that is 100. So 5 divided by under root 100 means 5 divided by 10 is equal to 0.5. So standard error of mean is equal to 0.5 here. Now we will estimate the population mean with the help of the standard error of mean for the 95% confidence limit, and the formula for 95% confidence limit is m. Now usually we take population m, but here we want to estimate the population m, that is capital M. So we will use small m plus or minus 2 standard error of mean. So small m is equal to sample mean, that is 154 centimeters plus or minus 2 into 0.5, that is our standard error of mean. It will give the range, that is 153 centimeters to 155 centimeters. Then interpretation of this is with the help of sample mean of 154 centimeters, we can estimate the population mean, means population average height of the whole all college student can be between 153 centimeter to 155 centimeters. Likewise, if we calculate the population mean with 99% confidence limit, it will range from 152.5 centimeters to 155.5 5 centimeters. So please read carefully. If you not understand, hear it again so that the concept will be clear about the use or utility of the standard error of mean in predicting or in estimating the population mean, that is the capital M. So far now we have completed the part of standard error of mean. Now let's start with the second part of today's session, is about the standard error of proportion. As I earlier said, standard error of mean is for the quantitative data. Now standard error of proportion is for the qualitative data. In qualitative type of a data there are two types of scales. First scale is nominal scale and second scale is ordinal scale. I explained you many times, but just to repeat with example, nominal scale means your religion or your gender, that suggests the qualities, and the ordinal scale in which you can arrange that data in order, means your Kupuswamy scale or the Glasgow Coma score or your Apgar score. These are the example of this ordinal scale. So whenever data is measured on the nominal or ordinal scale, and if you want to measure the sampling variation of such variables of these two scales, the standard error of proportion will be useful for such situations. So let's understand the concept of the standard error of proportion. So if the population size is n, take a hypothetical example of there are 100 people of the having the 100 people in your study. Out of that 100 people, 60 people have the high blood pressure or the hypertension. So total population or capital N is equal to 100. Now A is the number of person with an attribute. Here our attribute is high blood pressure. So A stands for persons, number of person with the high blood pressure, that is equal to 60. So the number of persons who do not have the high blood pressure is equal to total persons minus the A, means total 100 people minus 60% with hypertension is equal to 40. So number of person without attribute or high blood pressure is equal to 40. Now in last time or in standard error of mean we have seen the population M and the sample M. Like way, for the qualitative variable you cannot calculate the mean. Simple. That I have already explained to you. What you can calculate for the population for the nominal scale or ordinal scale or the qualitative data, you can calculate a proportion. So here the probability P for the population, again please pay attention here, the population probability is denoted by the capital P, while the sample probability is denoted by the small p. Clear? And if the probability, that is randomly selected person from the population, has the attribute is designated, that is equal to capital P, means the probability of the persons with a hypertension to be selected is equal to capital P. That will come to the 60% or 0.6, and the probability that a person does not have the attribute, means probability of the person without the hypertension is equal to 1 minus P, that is 40%, or 1 minus 0.6 is equal to 0.4, and the value of P is obtained by, value of the P is obtained by A. A stands for the attribute under study. Here attribute under study is persons with the hypertension, that is equal to in our hypothetical example is 60 divided by N. N is total sample size or the total population size. Here it is 100. So 60 divided by 100 is equal to 0.6. So probability of the attribute is equal to 0.6, and 1 minus P is equal to 0.4. And if you do not know the probability of the population, if means you do not know the capital P, you can use the small p or the sample probability. Okay. Before we go ahead, just be clear with your concept of the population and sample that I have explained you earlier also. So in standard error of proportion, your data should be qualitative type of data, and if you want to measure the sampling variation in such type of qualitative data, the standard error of proportion is useful. On the screen you can see the two circles, one is with the blue color, another one is the red color. Blue color is the whole population, and the red color circle, that circle or that population was drawn, or that is a sample that was taken from that population of the total population. Means our example is of the Loni village. Suppose we want to estimate the persons with the hypertension in Loni town, and the total population of the Loni town is 10,000. And if we want to estimate how many number of persons are in the Loni town with a hypertension, we cannot do the blood pressure measurement in all 10,000 students. What we will do, we will do the appropriate scientific sample which selected appropriately from the total population of the 10,000 population or 10,000 person of the Loni town, and we will conduct our study, or we will take the measurement of their blood pressure of these 200 persons, and we can generalize our inference or our results onto the whole population of the Loni town. So the population proportion means the proportion of the hypertension in the whole Loni town is denoted by the capital P, while the proportion with the persons with the hypertension in the sample of 200 persons is denoted by the small p. Okay. Let's understand the concept of the probability with the help of example on the screen. So example is 1000 medical students wherein there are 600 boys and 400 girls. So if we considered P, that means the attribute here it is the randomly selection will be a boy. So P stands for, capital P stands for the probability that a random selection will be a boy, and 1 minus P stands for the probability of random selection of a girl. Then this can be calculated with the help of the equation. What is the equation for the probability calculation? P is equal to A divided by N. A stands for attribute under consideration divided by the total size of the population. So here probability of selection of boy is equal to attribute under consideration is boy, chances of selection of a boy, divided by N. So N is equal to 1000 students. So attribute here is equal to 600 divided by total sample of students is equal to 1000. So probability of random selection of boy is equal to 0.6, and probability of the random selection of girl is equal to 1 minus P, that is 1 minus 0.6 is equal to 0.4. So up till now you have understood the capital concept of the capital P or the probability. You can see the formula on the screen. This is the second formula of the today's session, because first formula is about the standard error of mean that you have already written into your journal on the page. So write down this second formula on the same page or on the same part of your biostatistics journal. So let's understand the formula for the standard error of proportion first. So here are two situations you can see on the screen. In first situation, you are already knowing the population P, means you are already knowing the proportion of the persons with the hypertension in the Loni town, means out of 10,000 how many persons having the hypertension, that proportion is you are already knowing. And if the second situation, if the proportion is not known to you, means capital P or the proportion of hypertension in all 10,000 student is unknown to you. So there are two different types of formula mentioned here, and it is in parallel lines with the SEM. SEM also we have seen the two formula. One is where we know the population standard deviation, that is sigma. If not known, we have replaced that sigma with a small s. Like way here also the population, first we will see the formula for the population P is known. So when the population P is known, standard error of proportion is equal to under root P, probability of the particular attribute, into in bracket 1 minus that probability divided by N. N stands for the sample size. And if we don't know the population proportion, that is capital P, we can replace that capital P with a small p, means we can replace the proportion of persons with the hypertension of the whole Loni town. Instead of that, if you don't know that, it is a very common situation, or in common situation when you go for the research, you do not know the population of the proportion of hypertensive population in the whole population. In that case, what you will do, you will measure the persons with the hypertension in your sample, so that will be your P. So if you do not know the capital P or the population proportion, you can use the sample proportion or the small p. So in that case, the formula for the standard error of proportion is equal to under root p, small p means sample proportion, into 1 minus that p, means if it is the 60% or the 60%, you can convert into the 0.6, and after that 1 minus p means 1 minus 0.6 means 0.4. So 0.6 into 0.4, that is the explanation to this, divided by the sample size. So this is how you can utilize this formula. So let's understand with in more details with the help of example. From infinite population, if we draw a large number of samples, say k numbers of samples, and each time we have calculated the proportions for each sample. So for first sample the proportion is p1, for the second sample the proportion is p2, for the third sample proportion is p3, for the fourth sample proportion is p4, and the kth sample the proportion is pk. Let's understand with our example of Loni town. So the total population of Loni is equal to 10,000, and you want to measure the proportion of person with the hypertension in the Loni town. You do not know that percentage or that proportion. So what you will do, you will study or you will take out the randomly selected sample of the 200 persons from that Loni town. You will study the persons with the hypertension out of that 200, and you can generalize your findings to the whole Loni town. That is the procedure you will do in your research. But if you take the sample for the first time, you take out the 200 persons first time, and in that case 60% having the hypertension, means total 120 out of 200 people have the hypertension. Second time again you conduct the survey and again selected the 200 sample. Out of that 200, 50% have the hypertension, means 100% have the hypertension. Third time again you draw the 200 person sample from the whole Loni town, and that will show you the 40% having the hypertension. So this type of sampling variation, each time you draw the same amount of sample from that population, and different proportion you can get from that particular samples. So that type of sampling variation is measured with the help of standard error of proportion. We have already seen the concept of the confidence limit in the standard error of mean. Same concept will be applied here, and then in this situation it has been shown that about 68% of the samples would have p within the range of population proportion plus or minus 1 standard error of proportion. Then 95% would have sample p within the range of population proportion capital P plus or minus 2 standard error of proportion, and 99% would have their sample proportion within the range of the capital P plus or minus 3 standard error of proportions. So let's understand in simple word. If you take out the 200 person sample 100 times from the whole Loni towns, means you have repeated your procedure of selecting 200 persons and calculate their proportion. You have repeated this procedure for the 100 times. So 100 times you have taken out the sample of the 200 persons, and each time you have calculated the proportion of persons with the hypertension in that 200 persons. So you have 100 proportion, one for each sample. ठीक है, understood? आपके पास है 100 population, 100 sample proportions. So if you applied the first, that is the population proportion plus or minus standard error of proportion, that if you applied that, you will get that out of that 100 samples you have taken out from the whole proportion, 68% proportions of your samples will fall between the range of capital P plus or minus 1 standard error of proportion. If you applied the 95% confidence limit, that means 95% of the 95% of your sample proportions will lie between these 2 points, that is P plus or minus 2 standard error of proportion. And if you take the confidence limit of the 99%, in that case 99% of the sample proportions will fall between the range that we have calculated by using capital P plus or minus 3 standard error of proportions. So what will be the interpretation? Usually we take the 95% confidence limit, means proportion of an attribute in a sample beyond the range of capital P, means population proportion, plus or minus 2 standard error of proportion, would be rare or uncommon. Means there are 5% chance of the 5% chance of the sampling variation that will lie outside this range, that is P plus or minus 2 standard error of proportion. We will understand with thoroughly with the help of example, but just listen this and note down. The probability of such sample would be 5% or less if a sample show sample P beyond the range of population P plus or minus 2 standard error of proportion, then it is less likely to belong to the population where the proportion of attribute is equal to population P. Don't worry, I will explain you with the help of example. We have already seen the two situations in interpretation and use of the standard error of mean. In same line, there are two situations in interpretation and use of the standard error of proportion. What are the two situations? The first situation is when the population proportion, that is capital P, is known, and second situation when the population proportion, that is capital P, is unknown. Let's focus on the first situation that is shown on the screen, that when the population proportion, that is capital P, is known, and task here is to decide the sample with a small p, means sample proportion as a small p as a proportion of attribute in it is likely to belong the population in which the proportion of the attribute is capital P or the population P. I will simplify with the help of example. Take a hypothetical example of the hypertensive persons in a lonely town. So the population proportion, means capital P in our hypothetical example, is persons with hypertension in a lonely town, and we take out the sample of 200 persons from the whole population of the lonely town, and we measured the blood pressure and decide how many persons having the hypertension. After that, we have calculated the proportion of hypertensive persons among these 200 persons of a sample. So that will give you the sample proportions. Okay, so that means we have the data about the population proportions, means we have the data of the proportion of persons with the hypertension in whole lonely town. Then we have the data of the sample proportion, means persons with the hypertension in a sample of 200 persons. Okay. So what is the task here in terms of of our example? We have to decide the sample of 200 person is whether belong to the lonely town or not. That is the task. So I have make a simplification of your task in terms of our hypothetical example. Now our assumption here is our sample that we have taken out from the lonely town is belonging actually to the lonely town, and that we have to test, or that we have to decide with the help of this formula. The formula for deciding that is population proportion, means persons with a hypertension in lonely town, that proportion plus or minus 2 standard error of proportion. Now you already know how to calculate the standard error of proportion in previous slide. So if you have calculated the standard error of proportion, you have to add or subtract that standard error of proportion into population proportion, and if you do that, you will get two values. First value is population proportion minus 2 standard error of proportion, and second value population proportion plus 2 standard error of proportion. Okay, you will get two values. Now you have to check that whatever your sample proportion, means whatever the value of the proportion of persons with a hypertension in your sample of 200 persons, that you have to check that that value of proportion is lying in the range of the capital P plus or minus 2 SCP. If that value is lying in that range, that means the sample is likely to belong to the population in question, and if that sample P do not lie between the value of capital P or capital P plus or minus 2 SCP, that means that particular sample is less likely to belong to the population in question. Now let's understand with the help of numerical example. Let's understand the use of the standard error of proportion with the help of example. The example is about the city having number of males is equal to 1,70,347 and females is equal to 1,38,957 and total number of population including males and females is equal to 3,09,304. Now the question can be asked in your exam by giving this data, or your task is what could be the maximum variation in the numbers of males expected in a sample of 1000 individuals. So they have given you the data about the city, okay, and now they have asked you to calculate if you have selected 1000 individuals sample from the city given on the given in the example, what will be the sampling variations measuring the males. That is your task. So let's see how to calculate this. So first step is to calculate the proportion or the probability of selection of a males. The P is calculated, or population P or capital P is calculated by formula is equal to A divided by N. A stands for the attribute under consideration. Here it is the selection of males. So attribute is number of males. So number of males in population of given city is 1,70,347 divided by N. N means total population size. Here it is 3,09,304. So by dividing that, we will get a population proportion or population probability of selection of a males is equal to 0.55. So capital P is equal to 0.55. Now the formula for the calculation of the standard error of proportion is equal to under root P into 1 minus P divided by N. So here capital P is equal to 0.5. So 1 minus P is equal to 0.45. So 0.55 into 0.45 divided by total population size, that is N, that is 1000. If you calculate this, you will get standard error of proportion is equal to 0.015. Now you have the standard error of proportion. Now with the help of this, you can calculate the 95% confidence limit for the sampling variation of the particular example. So 95% confidence limit is calculated by the formula population P, that is 0.55 plus or minus 2 into standard error of proportion. Standard error of proportion here it is 0.015. So it will come to 0.03, means 0.55 plus or minus 0.03. So your 95% confidence limits are, lower limit is 0.52, upper limit is 0.58. Now in terms of actual numbers, means you have to convert it into the out of 1000 how many persons or how many students will, or how many persons or how many number of males in the population of the 1000 sample. So if we multiply the each of the confidence limit with the 1000, we will get 520 to 580. So what is the interpretation of this? So if a random sample of 1000 individuals of the given city of which they have given the number of males, number of females and the total number of population, we expect the number of males to vary between 520 to 580, and this is even after accounting for the sampling variation. Means if you taken the 1000 sample 1000 person sample for 10 times and you have calculated the number of the proportion of males of that 10 samples, you will get the proportion of males between 520 to 580 for 95%. Okay, and only 5% proportion of samples will lie out of this range, that is that can be below 520 or that can be more than 580. Okay, so we have already seen one situation of the use of standard error of proportion, in which we have know we have already known about the population proportion. We have already known the proportion of males in the whole population. Now let's see the second situation when the population proportion, that is capital P, is unknown. So in that case you can use small p. Small p stands for the sample p. So what I want to, or what I want to convey you, whenever you don't have the data or information about the population proportion, you can replace it with the sample proportion, or the or the small p, like we did it in the standard error of mean. And the rule of confidence limit is same here again. So if you add sample p plus or minus 2 standard error of proportion, you can estimate 95% confidence limit, uh, and you can estimate the population proportion, or capital P. Again, if you applied the 99% confidence limit, you can again measure the population P, that is capital P, with 99% confidence limit. So let's understand with the help of numerical example. Read the example on the screen. The example is, in an epidemic of typhoid, we have selected a random sample of 11,190 individuals. Out of that 11,190 individuals sample, 737 individuals were found to suffer from the disease, that is typhoid. What is the estimate of the number of cases if the population of the town is 1,35,000? So have you understood the question? The question or task here it is, we have to estimate the number of persons suffering from the typhoid disease in a whole town. For that, what is our task, what is our methodology? We have selected a sample of 11,190 individuals from the population of 1,35,000 population. We have performed the laboratory test, and from that we come to know that out of that 11,190 individuals, 737 individuals have a typhoid. And now our task is, from this data we have to estimate how many number of persons in a town can be affected with the typhoid, so that we can provide them the health service. So this is how, or this is the practical use of your standard error of proportion concept. So given data is, sample size is equal to, or n is equal to 11,190. The persons affected with a typhoid in a sample is equal to 737, and the total population is 1,35,000. So let's estimate the number of cases with a typhoid in a whole population. First step to estimate proportion of persons with a typhoid in whole population is to find the sample P, as we don't know the population proportion. It is our task to find out the population proportion of the typhoid, or the capital P. So here we assume we have the data about the sample P. Sample P is A divided by N. Attribute here it is persons with a typhoid. In our sample, 737 persons affected with a typhoid. So 737 divided by total number of sample size. Total number of sample size is 11,190. So if we divide it, or if we do that, the P, small p, or sample P is equal to 0.066. After that, there is step second. Step second is for, first we calculate with a 95% confidence limit, and next after that we will calculate for the 99% confidence limit. Usually we use 95% confidence limit to calculate the range of the persons affected with the typhoid in a whole population. The formula is sample P, that is small p, plus or minus 2 standard error of proportion. So sample P here it is 0.066 plus or minus 2, and standard error of proportion here it is 0.0023. So you will you should able to calculate the standard error of proportion with the help of small p. I have already told you the formula. Please put that value into that formula. You will get standard error of proportion is equal to 0.0023. So just to repeat, standard error of proportion, the formula is under root P. P here it is 0.066 into 1 minus p, that is 1 minus 0.066 divided by n here it is 11,190. Whatever value you will get after that calculation, that value is equal to 0.0023. So if we add and subtract that value into 2 from the sample p, we will get the range, that is the range of the capital P, that means population proportion will be 0.0614 to 0.0706. So in terms of percentage, if you multiply with 100, it will be 6.40 into 7.06%. And in terms of actual numbers means, what is out of 1,35,000, how much it will be. So if you multiply, if you convert that percentage for the population of 1,35,000, it will comes out to be 8,269 to 9,531. That the interpretation of this, if we applied the sample proportion to the whole population with the help of standard error of proportion, we will predict, or we will estimate that in a total population of 1,35,000, almost 8,269 to 9,531 people may get affected with the typhoid, or already get affected with the typhoid. If we applied the 99% confidence limit and all the steps are same, we will get that the P is equal to 0.0591 to 0.0729, and if we applied the total population, this quantity, we will get that almost 7,978 to 9,841 individuals had the typhoid in the town, and this is how we can plan the services to them with this estimate. Hopefully you have understood the concept of the standard error of mean and standard error of proportions very well. Now one thing I want to tell you, that in your exams, please read the question carefully and understand what exactly the examiners are asking, so that whether they are asking just to calculate mean, standard deviation, proportion, or the probability. After that, please understand what they are asking, whether they are asking to calculate the measurements of variations or the area under curve, or whether they are asking you to calculate coefficient of variations, or whether they are asking to calculate the sampling variations. Because if you understand, or if you look at the questions carefully, you will find that differences about the expectations of the examiners. So go through the all your exercises thoroughly, so that you will understand what the examiner is want to ask, and how to solve the question. So hopefully please go through the all exercises. Stay home, stay safe. We will meet again in the next lecture.